Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks and Modern Campground. We are live here at the OHCE Conference 2025 inside the OHI Booth in Louisville, Kentucky. We've been taught how to pronounce the city many times, and obviously it didn't stick in my brain yet. We're excited here to talk with you about all the things that are going on at this conference. We've had several days of really exciting education. We've been in the expo hall. It's wrapping up right now. You can see that behind me. All kinds of really good things, education sessions and stuff like that. So we're here talking to a couple guests. We're going to get their thoughts, opinions. Everything's going to go live just like we normally do at these shows. So we're going to go around here. We can start with Terry. You guys just want to introduce yourselves briefly?
Yes, Terry Munoz, Campground Consulting Group. I've been in the industry 37 years.
My name's Erica Edmonds. I work for Storable New Book, and I've been in the industry 6 years.
Mike Harrison, Chief Operating Officer of CRR Hospitality.
Hi, I'm Greg Emmert with Vireo Outdoor Hospitality Consulting, founder and principal consultant.
I'm Angie Kozik, and I own Happy Acres Campground in Angola, Indiana.
Hi, I'm Patrick McCormick, and I'm the manager of Happy Acres Campground in Angola, Indiana.
All right, thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate it. We're going to have a little bit of a struggle maybe hearing each other on each side of each end, so just try to talk as loud as you can. It wasn't really optimal to do the thing on the couch. Like, that's the worst furniture you could ever ask for a, like, they weren't planning on it for me, to be clear. But so we're sitting here, we're going to have a good conversation, really excited about that. So let's just start with, like, maybe is this your first year here? Have you been here before? Okay, second year here. So you were last year in Oklahoma City?
No, I was here 3 years ago.
3 years ago, which was
3 years ago.
What city? Testing your memory.
Kansas City. There you go.
Kansas City. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the differences and takeaways you have maybe from from Kansas City to today? First conference, the second conference.
So Kansas City was my first campground conference, first year owning a campground. So I was very wide-eyed and excited, and actually a couple people actually called me out and was like, yeah, you're new. We can tell. So I think this year I'm probably calling out the new people saying, yep, you're new. I could tell. But that's probably the biggest difference. I mean, still a lot of great information, and it's fun meeting new people and getting their take on what's going on.
What's the most interesting thing that you've learned here at OHCE so far this year?
This year, honestly, the very first panel, when all 5 or 6 guys that were up there said AI is not ready yet.
Okay.
Because it seems like it's really being pushed and pushed and pushed, but all of the, I mean, I think those guys are, that's higher pay grade than me, so they probably know what they're talking about. So that was a little shocking to me that they were just like, yeah, it's coming, it's just not quite ready. I think they just meant that the development of it in the campground industry hasn't reached its full potential yet. So don't jump in, feet first. And that's how I took
back and forth. Mike, you want to take that? Mike Harrison, CRR Hospitality Award winner for AI innovation.
It wasn't for AI innovation.
Partially for AI innovation.
Some of it was, yes.
Partially. I'm just saying you can weigh in on the topic.
Absolutely. Supplier of the year. Thank you. So I've got a little bit of a different perspective. We've been working with Insider Perks and rolled out Rigsby Campy for Insider Perks almost 4 years ago at this point. Was a chatbot, and not a like Verizon chatbot where you're like, speak with an agent. I mean, Rigsby's hard to break. And then just a couple months ago, we rolled out the first ever reservation AI agent. So, you can make a reservation at 2 a.m. You'll never get a busy signal. You won't miss a call. And that's just, the first glimmer. We're also working with Insider Perks on several other AI innovations that are coming, but not just some of those other things, but in general, the SEO that, Insider Perks and we're doing is, generative and, using, the entire search structure has changed with Google and the paid ads. And so I disagree strongly, because if you're not using AI, you're going to already be falling behind in the search, number one. And number two is, while there's going to be evolution and continued innovation of AI, there's absolute use cases, all over the place in the industry we have for our company, part of our leadership strategy session in January is an AI mandate for our company. And how can we make sure that we utilize AI in whatever ways they are? Right now, we're using them for competitive shops. So instead of, taking those hours to call the competitors and look at the rates and, et cetera, et cetera. Insider Perks is going to soon roll out a version of
You're
that.
putting words in my mouth.
I don't know. I feel, and I don't mean any disrespect, a statement such as AI is not ready means you're going to be left behind. Yeah.
I heard that come from them, and they didn't say don't use any AI. That's definitely not. So don't let me misspeak. I don't know. I was just shocked when I heard it, and all of them said it. So, but they definitely said that there are applications where it's useful and you should be using it. And so, anyway.
I don't think anybody's wrong. I think we all have our own opinions. AI is so new. AI is moving really fast, right? So there's a room for all kinds of opinions. The intention wasn't to say you're wrong, he's right, anything like that. It was just to say there's different perspectives and we all need to stay on top of it one way or another. So, Greg, what's the one thing that you've learned here at OHCE that
the one thing I've learned is that this thing continues to deliver every year. It might be bigger, it might be smaller, but having come for the last, my first one was in '94, and I've been coming on and off since then. Every year I'm reminded that the strength of the conference isn't its size, it's this right here. It's the people around you. They're our most precious resource. To get into a room with people in your industry and be able to share that knowledge and have the conversations. Yeah, you can do a Google Meet or a Zoom call, but it's not the same. The energy's not the same. The feedback typically isn't the same. So yeah, if there's anything, it's just, I'm always re-energized when I come to these. It's nice to see that it's ongoing and there's still so many people here, not just buying in, but putting in. Like everyone here, even if they're not a speaker, if they're just an attendee, they're putting something into the conference. There's nobody here that's not a contributor at some point.
Same question to you, Mike.
I've got two perspectives on it. I think one is, when we first started coming, we were coming as an attendee, as an owner, and then we started coming as a manager, and then we started coming as a vendor, and then I started coming as a speaker. And so we do all four of those roles now. And so we use a different lens in each version of that. And so it's interesting to see how, you can view the value of the conference in each one of those lenses. And I find value in all of them. I think one of the things that we had heard consistently was there was a bit of reticence about this conference. What is it going to be, right? This is the second year since OHI kind of, separated from the state associations, and how's it going to be, and are people going to go? And it's exceeded our expectations. The attendance I've heard, I don't know if it's confirmed, is record attendance. It's certainly record vendors, and we're excited for that. I think the other part, which really is just fulfilling, is to see the passion around the industry. And you look at the various service awards, whether it was Jim Button, or Rob Shooter. There are so many good people in this industry, and they all have the same mission, which is service. And whether it's helping another campground, another owner, education, government advocacy for the government, it's just impressive to see the continued contributions from all the folks.
Erica?
I think one thing that just continues to inspire me and excite me about this conference is the passion of the young professionals. We had an event last night, and there's so much passion in that room. There's so much potential innovation in that room, and to see those individuals communicating and hanging out and networking and coming up with ideas and contributing to the industry to push it forward, it continues to inspire me. And I don't think that I could ever miss a conference, because I would feel like I was missing a step in the process of pushing the industry forward. And yeah, it's incredibly exciting, and I'm thankful to be a part of it.
Does Terry qualify for Young Professional?
Terry is a Young Professional Plus.
Hey, I'm a young professional at heart, and I was the OG of the young professionals. I was that property manager attending this show back in the day for Thousand Trails when I first started, back in the early 90s, Greg, when I saw, the late, great David. Oh my gosh. Oh, I remember. I know Dave Berg this morning. I worked with Dave for a long time. and that was so special for Rob to receive that award because they were such good friends. I worked with him on the board. But David Gordon, who I was thinking of, he was on stage, right? He's talking, and I was like, "Oh, what's this thing called Arvik back then?" Right? And I quickly learned that there's a lot to get from these shows. You can't replace the networking that you have at this show. We have to constantly reinvent ourselves. We can't keep doing the same old thing over and over again. And you come here, you get, like you guys said, you get re-energized, and you have that passion for the industry, and that's just reinforced when you come here and find other people that have that same passion, and you build on that, and you make some lifelong relationships like we heard this morning, those guys up on stage that were receiving awards. Rob called out people that I've worked with that are no longer here with us, but we're pioneers, definitely pioneers in this industry, and got OHI in this conference to where it is today. And it is, I did check, record attendance, record vendors, record attendance. That's amazing.
All right, I'm going to try something new on this show. We've never done it before, and I haven't prepped the guest for this, but Erica runs her own podcast, which is great. What's the name of your podcast, Erica?
It's the Talks More podcast.
Okay, so I've been doing these lives at OHI and KOA, and I always try to come up with interesting, unique questions. How about I have you ask each of these people one question that you want to know, that you think would be great?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, in my podcast, we focus on the personal story of each individual working in the industry. And I'm always curious where everyone kind of got their start or got their, inspirational moment of, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to continue to do. And I want to help build this industry. Terry, we'll start with you.
Oh my gosh. Where I got my start. I was a college student, and I was looking for a part-time job. And I started at a RV park as what was called a ranger with 1,000 trails. I didn't know what that meant. I just I heard it was a security guard position, and I started in May of '88. What holiday is the end of May? Memorial Weekend. I quickly found out that I wasn't just a security guard. I was checking people in. I was greeting people. I was going out and patrolling and making sure they weren't speeding and not parking on the grass and doing all those things. And, then I was offered promotions along the way. And next thing you know, I'm a property manager at a campground. After I graduated college, and I guess it stuck 37 years later. And and I guess what drove me to do it was the love of people, because I got into training, and I would train our customer experience program, and I love to elevate other people and see them grow, and that's my passion too. So it really has been a rewarding experience over the years.
I have two origin stories, I guess. One is similar to Terry. My first hospitality job was back in 1987. I was a busboy at Chili's, and just grew up in the food and beverage world. And then was about to fail out of college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so my friend was going on the Disney World College program, and I'm like, oh, I have to declare a major. And I'm like, I don't know I worked in restaurants, for 7 years. And back then, it was no such thing as hospitality. It was restaurant and travel administration. And so I declared a major, went to the Disney World College program, and then studied in Europe, and fell into the hotel business for 25 years. And just, I loved the passionate around service, which I would love being a waiter. And that translated to just kind of the service for the customer. And then the second origin story is in outdoor hospitality. And I'm not ashamed to admit, I was laid off during COVID, and through misfortune comes fortune. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. The hotel business was obliterated, obviously during COVID, and they laid off, 60% of the corporate team. I was the high-priced remote guy, and had to look for the next, position during COVID. And looked in the hotel business. I was looking in residential and senior living and asset management, and fell into a position that was asset management plus Phoenix in my job search. I didn't want to travel as much, which has completely failed. And so I met with the ownership group. They had one property, Verde Ranch RV Resort, and really fell into a great opportunity, to form and build a company with the ownership group that we're with. Outdoor hospitality has continued to fulfill my zhuzh for spirit to serve, the people, the associates, the industry, and have really the best journey of my life and my career because of the misfortune. So.
I have learned on enough of these podcasts not to follow Mike. You give the best answers to everything, dude. Like that's an awesome journey though. But like mine, I have a single origin story, right? I don't have a two-pointer, but it probably starts well back before we bought our campground because I was fortunate enough to have parents that love the outdoors. So we camped, they grew up camping in a tent with no floor, it's basically a tarp. They were dirt baggers. They, worked their way up. By the time I'm about 8 years old, we have an RV and we're traveling that way. But then a disease bit my dad, and don't worry, it's not serious. It's called armchair quarterbacking. So like we did it long enough, and he was like, "This will be easy. I don't want to be a machinist anymore. I'm going to buy a campground and we're all going to work together." And we thought, yeah, this would be great. And for anybody out there that's ever done that, I feel your pain. If you haven't, but you think that's a good idea, the treadmill's going at like 25 when you get on. You can't slow it down. So be ready, because it was about, I don't know, 12 hours into our first day on opening day. And we were like, oh God, this is being on the other side of the counter is a completely different, but it was the best because it was trial by fire. Like we were dropped into it. You don't have a choice. You got to learn, adapt, grow. And 26 years later, we sold the park, but it was a heck of a journey at that time. With the amount of stuff that I learned, can't trade it for anything. It's why I'm still in the industry. I could have run away when we sold our park, but it's great, and the people in it are great. I mean, it's really hard to beat.
I have a similar story. I actually did not start out in hospitality at all. My husband and I owned body shops. So when you wrecked your car, we fixed it. And we ended up selling all of our shops to a national company in 2021, 2020. I don't even know. And thought it would be a good idea as a retirement plan to buy a campground. And the first year I cried a lot. I cried a lot. And I was like, why am I doing this? Because I didn't have to do this. But then I met Patrick and things got better. Learned what I needed to learn. And second year I didn't cry as much. And this year was absolutely amazing. So that's my story. That's we bought a very campground that needed a lot of love. Let's just say that. I don't want to say any bad words here. So yeah, it needed a lot of love. And the first year, there's a lot of campsites he never used, and I didn't understand why. So the first year on Memorial Day, I'm like, we're filling this thing up. It was a bad idea. The power was failing everywhere. I was running back and forth. I had to go beg all of the campers to please only run one air conditioner, and it was so bad. That is the single worst day of my campground career, was that first Memorial Day. I will never forget it. But I learned a lot, and then the next week we got the excavator out and started digging because we were doing new power. So 4.2, 4.7. Yeah. Oh my gosh. $120,000 a year. What do we do? 470? 470. Yeah. Yeah.
Well done.
So I cannot take all the credit. I will. No.
Well, my journey started 35 years ago in hospitality, but it was the hotel restaurant business right out of Purdue, and ran hotels. And then, I don't know, at some point I took a teaching job and taught business and marketing courses for 28 years at Ivy Tech Community College, just retired this summer. But in 2005, we bought our first camper, me and my wife, because we wanted a way to travel with our dog. And that's how we got into RVing. In 2017, I started a YouTube channel, Travels with Delaney, which we've had now for 8 years. And like 3 years ago, I reached out to Angie to say, hey, we'd like to do these little events for our subscribers. Could we host one at your park? Which was 10 minutes from our house. my wife was tired of me scheduling campouts 1,000 miles away and the long travel to do them. And so our relationship started with a single Instagram message. And in 22, I think it was, we hosted an event, and Angie and Kevin said, "Hey, let's work together." We didn't really know what that meant at the time, but we started a YouTube channel for the campground. We started working together on marketing. Last year, Angie said, "Hey, come to work for us." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not. I got another year till I can retire from the college." So I was working 2 jobs simultaneously. And then I retired this summer. And at some point, Angie just promoted me to manager. And so now I'm proud to say I manage an amazing campground. We have 91 sites and cabins in Northeast Indiana, and we are the highest rated Google campground in the county now. And it's because of Angie and her husband, Kevin. I mean, they have put, I always tell guests when they say, "Oh, this park is amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, it was a dump 4 years ago." Angie and Kevin put over $1 million in it. But I always say, I feel like I'm cheating them when I say that, because the stories I hear from the first year about Angie and Kevin shoveling stone by hand, they have put blood, sweat, and tears into this park. And so all I've done is come around and tried to spread the word. And yeah, so that's my journey. So I went full circle from hotels back into hospitality after a 28-year career of teaching, and I'm loving it. It's great.
All right, we're going to pass the mic all the way down. We've been joined by the esteemed David Basler, whose title gets promoted, I feel like, every 2 months. So what's your current title? You keep rising through the ranks really fast, man.
My current title?
Yeah.
Chief Strategy Officer and SVP of Government Affairs.
See, it keeps adding something new, man. You're doing all the things.
It does.
So, Erica, what was the
I
question
missed
for
the
David?
question. Sorry, I'm late. My start in the industry was, I was actually just telling this story yesterday. I came from higher ed. I was working at the University of Colorado Medical School in marketing. And at the time, Arvik needed a director of marketing. And long story short, the commute to the Arvik office was 2 miles from my house versus an hour and a half to where I was working. And I loved the outdoors. I loved camping. I was like, man, this could work. And I had young kids at the time, and so it worked out great. It was just a perfect fit at the right time, basically. And my inspirational moment, I'm going to point back over to what Patrick was just talking about. These relationships that come, like what he just described, to me is the definition of what this community, what this organization and industry are all about. You know, people in other industries are cutthroat and competitive, and it's the exact opposite in this industry. You could have campgrounds that are 5 miles apart from each other, and they want to see each other succeed. So they are helping each other out every chance they get. Rising tide raises all boats. If that's not inspirational, I don't know what is, you know?
Well, give us an update on OHI. How's the convention going? Oh, okay. You're right.
I'll come back.
Well, thank you all so much. Completely inspiring just to hear where everyone started. And I was managing an Aldi grocery store in East Tennessee at the height of the pandemic, and I was looking around one day after throwing truck starting at 5:30 in the morning and thinking, this is madness and I am miserable. And my mom had worked in the industry for a really long time, and I was having a conversation with her, and she was like, you know, the outdoor hospitality industry is doing great right now. You know, it's chaos, but it's a lot of fun. And she's like, just send me your resume and I'll pass it to my boss, and you know, you never know. And I did. And it was Ron Williams, who's now with Blue Water, and Robert Bose, who's the VP of Travel Resorts of America. And they interviewed me at a small campground in North Carolina and gave me a tour and kind of told me what everything was all about. And I was like, this sounds like an adventure. This sounds like something fun. You know, I could meet people, be out in the community. You know, camping has always been something that I've enjoyed as a child. So I jumped ship and never looked back. And my first conference with OHCE was in Kansas City. And I never knew that there would be any kind of space like this to communicate and network and be around others who loved what they were doing. And my jaw was on the floor the entire time. And I had conversation after conversation after conversation with individuals. And after every interaction, my first thought was like, that's an amazing story, and other people need to hear that. And, you know, the podcast eventually came to be, and the rest is history.
This has nothing to do with hospitality.
Yeah.
But tell your husband's job, because I think it's one of the coolest jobs.
Oh my goodness. Well, my fiance, soon to be husband, he is a lighting designer, lighting director and creative for AEW Wrestling. So he travels all around the country, and he does some amazing things. He's brilliant, and you know, I look up to him so much. And don't make me cry. But
I want to meet you. It's so cool. I want to meet you.
he's the greatest.
David, can you give us an update on how OI is going so far?
I
Or
thought I had a
OHCE?
fun job. That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Lighting director for professional wrestling. Gotta love it. Update on OHI. Okay, so in Kansas City, we introduced the new OHI brand. Last year, earlier this year, I should say, we introduced the start of our new business model. And, you know, that was kind of a reset moment for us as an association. But thrilled to tell you that ever since then, throughout the course of the year, we've literally seen growth in every single metric that we track. We're growing in members. We're growing, as you see around you, the biggest trade show we've had. I don't know the final numbers of attendees, but it far exceeded last year and the year before that, and the year before that. So I think growth, if I had to put it into one word, which is great.
What's the most interesting conversation you've had at OHCE so far?
You know, we had brought back, I can't remember when the last time we did it. I think it was 3 years ago when we did the prospective owners workshop in person the last time. We brought that back this year, and so there were 50 participants of the prospective owners workshop who are, you know, just getting into the industry. And I've had a dozen or more conversations with them about just in this short window of time how life-changing being here, and not only going through the workshop, but outside of the workshop, having conversations with people like on this panel and around, and how just that has solidified their resolve and their desire to be in this industry. I think it also speaks to what I said earlier too. They're excited to be part of such an open and caring community. So,
If I push you and say pick one that really stood out to you, what's the one conversation of anything in OHCE?
I ate breakfast yesterday with a guy named Doug Grant. I think it was yesterday. It may have been 2 days ago now. The days are running together. Doug Grant from Island Creek Campground in Wilmington, North Carolina. He's getting it off the ground. He's one of the prospective owners, and he was just over the moon excited the fact that D. Whitting and the Carolinas Association had a booth here, and he could come and be part of both communities at the same time. I thought that was really cool.
Nice. Terry, same thing. And most interesting conversation.
Oh, it'd have to be with a client that just got his permits and ready to break ground. I mean, that's always exciting, right? When you help someone in there, they're getting near the finish line. You know, because being involved in I didn't say earlier, but my career advanced into development, and there's nothing like taking a blank slate and creating something special. I mean, I can tell you from experience, and he's going to experience this when he's done with this project, is there was nothing that I could compare to driving through that property that I developed from the ground up on Memorial Weekend and seeing every site full and seeing families enjoying themselves, seeing kids that are going to have their first marshmallow roast, make their first s'more, making memories, right? That's what it's all about. And so to help someone accomplish that and have those conversations, that's pretty amazing.
Mine would probably have to be a conversation that I had yesterday right over here, just a couple feet away, while the OHI Foundation was having their silent auction. I was there and met with a girl who was deeply affected by the tragedy from Helene in the Carolinas, and her name is Lauren, and I apologize for not remembering exactly where her campground was, but she spoke to the fact about how the foundation really swooped in and just gave them hope and brought some relief, and it was such a beautiful story, and she was so grateful. And we had the OHI silent auction going on at the time, and there was a bunch of people around, and it was like a community moment, which is what this is all about. And I'm gonna cry again, but it was absolutely incredible, and that's just something that this industry has built and provides, and I just think that we're incredibly lucky to have that as a part of what we do.
If we're using the term interesting conversation, I think mine was I had dinner with the business forum last night and had a 30-minute conversation with Eric Stromberg. And those who know me know 30 minutes is 29 minutes too long for a conversation for me. And we were talking about just kind of how he got his start and how I got our start. It's nothing to do with our jobs. And, I found out he's a world traveler. He's going to Cameroon. It's his fourth year in a row of kind of a world travel journey with his family. They had a medical situation previously, and they just wanted to live life. And then my son is mountain biking through South Africa right now with his uncle for 2.5 weeks. And just kind of a really nice, connection moment, if you will. But, it just highlights, and I don't mean to be braggadocious, but, we were honored with the Supplier of the Year award. And, he is one of our partners with Tango Internet. Preferred partners, and as Insider Perks and Campground Consultants, many of the other folks, and those relationships contribute to what we're able to do. Without those people, we can't do what we do, and business begets business, right? They refer. So it's funny how a connection conversation, which is unintentionally nothing to do with business, ends up being business just because of the networking and the human part. So anyway, he's going to Cameroon.
Once again, that's really hard to top. Cameroon.
Do you want to just move seats to the end, Greg? Yeah.
I may need to. Apart from this conversation right here, of course, this one's interesting by far, have been the ones that I've had with folks from OHI. Watching Jen and Renata and Riley and some of the other people at registration work their tail ends off to pull this thing together, but not mustaches. In mustaches. Yeah, there were mullets and mustaches have been added. In fact, I can see Riley's is still, it looks like some sort of a slug moth caterpillar crawling across her. She got the Lorax name tag. Watching them work this in real time, okay, so first they put in months and months of work to pull this off, but seeing them in the hallway, they're being stopped and getting feedback and taking it and taking notes. I saw Jen hanging outside of a session when it was over, listening to feedback, and I stopped and talked to her, and she's like, I have some of the best ideas. She opens her phone and she's reading off the things that she's, I assumed that when people were talking to her, she was just furiously texting and ignoring them. She was listening. That's something I need to learn how to do. She's listening, taking notes as people are coming out of sessions, and then we had a conversation, and it's great. But I am astonished at the amount of work, and I don't know why. I mean, I look at this thing, and I should be. I mean, it's massive. I don't know what it takes to pull this off. I would not want to do what they do, but I'm so grateful for them and for the hard work that they put in, not just before, but during. So that conversation I had with her, where she was telling me some of the feedback that she had gotten from attendees, and then some of her own ideas, and then I gave her some ideas. She started walking away immediately. I don't know what that was about. I think she might have been idea'd out. I might have topped off and overfilled the tank. So, but that's, my conversation with Jen in the hallway it was awesome.
All right, I have a couple. So the first one was with you, and you don't even know it. So it was during the very first breakout session for the central area of the country, and you said, don't be scared to raise your prices. And that's actually a conversation that, him and I are on the same page, but my husband is on a different page. So it was refreshing to hear your take on it. So that's definitely a takeaway that both of us are leaving here with, and we've already told my husband. So, but anyway, yes. Correct. But actually, that right before that, on the very first presentation, we sat down with 3 people who are starting a campground in Tennessee, and it's still being built. I believe they're like it's not even open yet. And it was really cool because I could see myself 4 years ago in them and all the questions they were asking, and they were just curious about everything. And I so feel like I am a negative expert still on all of this campground stuff. And so them asking me, I'm like, why are you asking me? I don't know. But I mean, I do know. And it was just a nice conversation to have. So I would say that was those two. Those are my favorite.
Awesome perspective on
Yeah. Yes.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
At my 10 or somebody asked me a question, and I was like, no, you're looking for something you know something.
Right. Yeah, not me.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this doesn't come across self-serving but yesterday my wife and I were walking around in here and a person says, oh my God, it's the Delaney's, which by the way is not my name, but everybody assumes because our channel's called Travels with Delaney that our last name's Delaney. It was actually our Cocker Spaniel when we started the channel. But I met Chuck, and Chuck's like, I have watched you for years, and you helped me and my wife get to know our RV because we do a lot of educational type content. And what it reminded me of was how great this community is, the RV camping community. He's thanking me, and I'm saying, no, thank you. And we started getting into discussions about our journey as RVers and how we both started with small teardrops and slowly working our way up. I'm a little ahead of him because I'm in a 35-foot fifth wheel, and he's in an Intech. But having him stop me and say thank you, and then to get into that discussion about the RV lifestyle, camping, and just how great, we were talking about, and I've always said this, if you stay at a hotel and you walk down the hallway and you say hi to somebody, they almost turn around and go the other way. When you pull into a campground, within minutes, you have best friends on your left and your right. People are so inviting. And so I think that was there were so many conversations we've had with different park owners. I would say another one that struck me was through this 3 days, it reminded me that the struggles we have on a daily basis that we think is just us, it's not us. We're all in this together. And I think that's what's great when you bring people together like this. You help each other out, and you realize like we all have that same struggle of people driving too fast through your park or people leaving trash in the fire pit. And those conversations reinforce that we're doing the right things, we can get better, and we're in it together. And I just really appreciate that from this event. It's been an amazing 3 days.
One of the reasons that I always ask about conversations is that the networking, I think we'll all agree here, the conversations we have are some of the biggest, most powerful takeaways at all these conferences. So let's do another thing that we've never done before. We'll start with Patrick. We'll work our way back. Patrick, ask anyone here by process of elimination. So if Patrick asks David a question, nobody else can ask David a question. By process of elimination, something you want to know from somebody else on the panel. Anything you want.
I'd love to ask Angie, but I won't since I know her. So I'm going to ask Greg a question because I want to follow up on the whole rate thing. So Angie and I are, again, very aggressive in yield management and using dynamic pricing. But what in terms of what you're seeing across the industry, are you seeing rates actually being pushed to where they should be, or are you seeing more like what Kevin is, where it's like, oh, I hate to raise rates on people, or I'm afraid people won't buy? Like, what are you seeing currently happening? I know we're on the same page of where we think it should be.
And thanks for calling on me first, because some of these people down here would have asked me like a really hard question. So this is a good one. Thank you. So I'm seeing, yes to all, I would say I see both, but then I'm seeing a third thing happening that I think but is problematic for some operators. And Mike what time is your session today? 11:30 a.m. So I am but a student, I would say. He is kind of the master when it comes to rate revenue management. So we'll see if Mike agrees. But I would say that two things are happening. You have the smaller, like single park operators, like I was, or maybe like you guys are, right? You're mom and pop. We are always hesitant to raise our rates. I had a very similar dynamic to yours. My mom and I were like, look, we went 2 years without a rate increase. I'm pretty sure we're losing money. This is early on before we had learned the business side. And my dad would consistently say, like, But if we raise rates, everyone will leave. Like they're all going to leave because that other guy is cheaper. And I'm like, have you been to that other guy's campground? So anyway, and that's only one part of setting rates. I don't want to get into your talk, but like, so that's one problem, one issue, let's say. Another one is that through the pandemic, there's this surge in camping because everybody can go outside. And I think people at a certain point started to believe that they could just charge anything they wanted. And granted, demand, I think, drove that for a lot of them. Because if your park is full day after day after day after day, okay, supply, demand, you can increase your rates. You should increase your rates. But there's also market data now to show that the camping public is really feeling squeezed. Because so we did all that at the same time that wages weren't outpacing inflation. And so, yes, maybe the demand is there, but we took the camping public and shrunk. It was this really wide pool. Sorry, Mike. Now it's sort of shrinking a bit, right? It's fewer and fewer people are able to afford certain parks. Now, does that drive other ones to chase affordability? Maybe. But I don't know. I guess to answer your question, it's sort of yes to all. And I see it's got positives and negatives. I mean, if you can get that higher ADR consistently and you're full, that's great, because I'm certainly not advocating for anyone to lower their rates or stay artificially low to price yourself for a certain subset of campers. But at the same time, if affordability is part of your core values and that's part of your mission, okay, you can also do things to decompress rates, right? Keep certain sites at a certain price level, but then increase offerings on other ones. So you're casting a wider net, right? So that when somebody comes in, they don't see, oh, they've got a $50 site and a $60 site, and that's the end of it. Maybe it's $50, $60, $70, $80, and then you've got accommodations starting from there. It decompresses the rates, helps that a little bit. I'm starting to realize that I'm rambling and I should give the microphone to somebody else. But did I answer your question? I don't even know if I answered. Okay, I answered the question. So back now.
No, now you got to ask somebody.
Now I'm going to ask a question.
Yep.
Grade my performance. Yeah, give them some actual. First grade my performance, and then give them the grand poobah rate and revenue management without tipping your hand too much. And we want people to show up to your session, so you don't want to get them all to eat.
So that wasn't a question. Those are
Yes.
okay.
That was
All right.
Would you like me to frame this question now?
Okay.
I feel like I'm on Jeopardy. How did I perform in my response to, I almost said Delaney, Patrick. And then what would be your take on the current situation of rate and revenue management industry-wide, 10,000 foot view?
Thank you for the excellent question. I would give you an A-. I think it was very good. And the only reason I don't give you an A is I just have a little bit. I would add one more sentence onto it. I think you answered the question very well, and I think the answer to your question is it depends, right? And so my answer to that would be RevPass, not necessarily ADR. And I don't know if you know what RevPass is, revenue per available site. And so every property is going to have a different answer to the RevPass question, and your customer, your demand, and your market will tell you what that is. And one of the things, the second half of our mission statement is to offer accessible luxury, value, and fulfillment. And does value mean cheap? No, value means the price that somebody's willing to pay for your services. And so what is the best value, that your campground can offer? And so I would, suppose, if you want to use a supposition, that can you raise your rates? It depends, right? If you're at a 4.7, and you mentioned you're the highest reputation management driven property in the entire county, then without any other data, the answer is yes, probably, right? I'm a revenue management poobah. However, in my budget for one of my properties for 2026, we realized, well, we're not as smart as we think we are, and we've been leaving considerable rate on our table at one of our properties. And we have a strategy for next year to raise that property's ADR by $25, total ADR. It'll be worth $2 million if it's successful. And we realized that we weren't following our own rules, and we are clearly the best property in the county, but it's a ramp property, it's new, and so we're going after business, and it just doesn't necessarily mean it's going to drive occupancy. And if we put our rates up to where they should be, Are we going to lose any less occupancy? Probably a little. If I lose $100,000 but I gain 1.9 million, what's the trade-off? So I think the answer to that question is it depends, and you focus on rev pass, and that'll help you get the answer to that question. I have a question for Terry. I would love to understand and know how you kind of came up with the concept and developed the retreat.
The concept to develop it. I put boots on the ground, and I looked at this property that just chased down to the water, ran down to the water, and it was a challenge with topography, as well as being in the city of Houston and having permitting through that jurisdiction. But I just envisioned a property that stepped its way down toward the water, because as we all know, when we have a property, we always look for that destination location or something that has a great presence in the market. And water, being on water, is typically your number one amenity, followed by your swimming pool. If you're not on water, your pool and your amenity core, everybody goes to that. But just building it around that and tearing it down toward the property, and then being creative with floodplain. I know Greg said this in the Prospective Owners Workshop, just try to stay in Zone X. But my comment is, don't be afraid to explore below that with creativity, right? We can put things in the floodplain. The code says we could put RVs in the floodplain. Now, jurisdictionally, that's a challenge, but that's what we did. We utilized that property to its max with the amount of floodplain that was there. And a backstory to that property, it was originally going to be large acre home sites. But because of Hurricane Harvey and the city building codes changed, because the city has jurisdiction all around that body of water, they could no longer do that. So someone in the room said, hey, what about an RV park? Those are being built everywhere. And someone said, well, that's great, but we don't know anything about RV parks. So I was lucky in that regard, because they found me and recruited me to do that. But it was, again, a rewarding experience. But to answer your question, just being creative and creating that core area out of the floodplain, some property surrounding it, and just maximizing that property down toward the water. What's that? Oh, follow.
So while you were talking, this wasn't originally part of my question, but as you know, Texas, released a new law about submitting the FEMA plan for any properties in a floodplain. So considering about the retreat, obviously what happened to Kerrville, if you were building it today, would you build it exactly the same way?
That's a great question, and this came up actually in a session yesterday that we had a breakout session. It was actually a follow-up to the Prospective Owners Workshop. We had a session, and it did come up because, yes, there are some changes, and we have to be mindful of that. And jurisdictions are going to be more stringent, even though there's some guidelines that allow you to build. But it depends on what that body of water does. What are the characteristics of it? Does it rise slowly, or is it a raging river? And I think we need to address that as we look, because there's huge opportunity to develop a floodplain. But what does that floodplain look like? I've managed a property under my watch when I was a regional manager for ELS that was on the Colorado River in Columbus, Texas. We had 24, 28, 36 hours notice of when the Colorado River was going to crest. And we had 88 sites down by the river that we knew, hey, it's time to go move picnic tables. It's time to get people moved. And we had a restroom in that section that was built out of, CMU block. So it was designed to go underwater, and we could clean it up and open it back up. But that, over the years that I had that property, it went underwater 3 or 4 times, but we were able to recover. So that would be a case where you could, plan for that and ask for a variance request or whatever you needed to be able to build in that 100-year floodplain. Oh my gosh. You put me on the spot. I've got nothing. Let's see, what can I ask? Oh, I want to ask all of you, I'm big into to fundraising. So I want to challenge all of you to come up with ideas to help me in that regard. But Erica, how do you think the foundation did with its fundraising efforts at this year's conference, and what do you think we could do to going forward to help generate additional interest in donating and helping to support disaster relief and education?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a great question. And the OHI Foundation does a great job of being present at these events and just showcasing what they're all about. You know, we got the YPs involved this year with the t-shirts with, you know, how to donate on the back of the t-shirt from the event that we had last night. And, you know, if they selected to wear one of those t-shirts, because we had a select few number, they were challenged to ask anyone on the expo floor if they would like to donate. And I think that it's getting the young professionals involved. They want to be involved. They want to be useful, and they're a hungry group of individuals. And you know, they're also looking for opportunities to go and be boots on the ground. They're looking for ways to give back when natural disasters and things like that happen to parks around the country. And so I think just visibility overall. You know, we want to be out there. We want to make a mark. We want to be seen, and we want to show the community what we're capable of doing and what we're capable of providing. And, you know, fun videos and pictures and comments and interviews and all that stuff. It just creates that visibility and helps, you know, further extend the arm of what we're doing. And I think that if we keep that up, you know, our efforts won't come back void. Yeah, of course. Let's see. David, what do you see happening at next year's conference in Texas with OHI as far as the theme and how everybody can get involved and what you guys need headed into that event?
Well, the theme is easy because Fort Worth kind of just makes its own theme, right? Cowboy hat theme. I imagine at some point there will be some sort of mechanical bull of some, you know, I would guess, you know. So Fort Worth's going to be a fun community, fun town to go to. What was the second part of the question?
What do you need at that event? How can we get it?
Oh, I think the number one thing you can do to make the event great is go home and tell all your friends how much fun you had at this one and how much you learned and how much you networked and all the things, and tell them why they should come to Fort Worth, for sure. Be our voice out in the community on social media, when you're talking face to face, when you're at your state association show, whatever. Tell them, yeah, you got to be at OHCE. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Angela, you haven't had a question yet, right? What do you value most about being a member of the OHI community?
Softball.
What do I value most? Well, I think I know you guys do a lot of lobbying for the campground industry, and I do appreciate that because obviously, as a small campground, I have no pull or say. So that is important to me. Indiana, our state of Indiana, has also done a lot in the state to lobby and create laws that help protect campgrounds. So I feel like that's very important to me. But honestly, I enjoy these kind of things. And in my previous industry, we used to do this kind of stuff, but it wasn't nearly as fun. I mean, we're kind of like the fun industry. This is what we do. We come here and figure out how to work hard at being more fun for our campers. So I appreciate that. I love the expo. There's always new stuff here that I didn't know existed and didn't know I must have. So I always find stuff like that. And then just the long-term relationships that you build. I mean, I'm still in contact with people that I met the very first time I was here. So I think that that's really cool. I have a campground now that whenever I travel down to Florida that I stop at because it's halfway for me, and it's somebody that I met that very first time. I think that those are the things for me that are important. So
I just want to offer a follow-up to what you'd said and get on my high horse for a second on behalf of David. you had said, we appreciate OHI lobbying, but, we're a little campground. What can we do? And so what I would offer up is that's a great point. You can do a lot. And so, OHI regularly lobbies on the Hill, and we have a voice. And so they a lot of times will ask and reach out to campgrounds and say, hey, we need you to go speak to your senator. And they'll bring the campgrounds with them. And that's made a difference. We've had some wins with the Credit Card Competition Act and some of the other, bills that OHI has been working on behalf of you. And so the little guy matters. Scott from Sonora and Desert RV Park and, other, campground owners and managers have been. And so I just want to offer that a perspective is, on behalf of David and the organization, anybody can help. And please, participate when they ask for service. That's a way that we can help, service the industry. So I don't mean to get on my high horse there, and it wasn't in dispute there, but I think that's an important point.
All right, so for everybody who's watching at home, you can see we did this at a special time. We've got about 2 minutes maybe here. You can see everybody's packing up behind us on the expo floor, but that's why we did our show a little bit early. So I just want to rapid fire go around. Patrick and Angela, can you tell us where they can find more information about your campground?
Well, you can go to our website, camphappyacres.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Camp Happy Acres.
And how about the Delaney's?
Oh, yeah. Travels with Delaney. We're primarily on YouTube, Travels with Delaney. We also have a podcast, Travels with Delaney, the podcast, very creative title. And then we also are on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Greg, Virya?
Thank you. Yeah, you can find out more about me and what I do for outdoor hospitality at growwithvireo.com.
You can find out about CRR on www.crrhospitality.com, or coming soon to the S'mores podcast, allegedly, or many different ways that we're happy to help and participate in the industry. Or follow Sammy and Calvin on Instagram, which are dogs.
You can find out more about the Talk Smart podcast and myself on our socials, Facebook and Instagram. And I would challenge all of you to join me on my podcast. These conversations have been so great. I can't wait to talk more with each of you. And thank you to my sponsors, OHI and New Book. And you can check out their websites as well, newbook.cloud and ohi.org.
Awesome. You can find out more about me and the firm at campgroundconsulting.com. Look there for all your needs for full service consulting, everything except management. And that's when you look to Mike. But also, I also do a lot of certified pool operator training. I do a big class through OHI. Watch for that. That'll be announced. And I'd love to get your folks certified through that as well.
You can connect with OHI at ohi.org and the marketplace on ohi.org. You can connect with all of our supplier members, who some of whom were here at the show. And obviously, you can connect in person at OHCE and OHI Connect and National School and all throughout the year.
Awesome. Well, for everybody who's watching at home, obviously you should be here with all of us. So come here next year. But thank you to David, Terry, Erica, Mike, Greg, Angela, and Patrick for joining us on another episode of MC Fireside Chats. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, guys.
I thought I was supposed to show up at 10.
MC Fireside.